Oh! Wow! Alright then, that was great for chapter 1. I think that was really fantastic. I think that's the start of something pretty incredible. I think they've got really something going on here. I think that's real nice. Scary. A little overly punishing on the death thing and expectations of reactions being what they are and all that, but I love an ungodly huge facility. Like, I love that whole concept. Like, right from Portal and Portal 2, I love an idea of a catacomb-like endless industrial nightmare. It's fantastic. I think that was really good. And functionally, it's basically like a demo, but hey, there's a lot going on here, and I can't wait for chapter 2.
Oh, and there you have it. That was Poppy Playtime Chapter 2. Now, I'm certain that there's going to be an after credits thing, but before we get to that, what I would like to say about this is, because I know that a lot of people are upset about this company for a lot of reasons, and I get it. I think NFTs are stupid. And all the things about, like, whatever else happened with it are probably legitimate criticisms. But what I always try to remember is that a company is not one hive mind. There was clearly a lot of work and love that was put into this game. That's what I really want to emphasize. Look at these credits. These are all the people that worked on this game, the people that put time in. And I'm all about, like, if any of it was like not paying these people properly, that is awful. You should pay people what they're worth. But the problem with it, and I get the kind of like protesting it of things, but what it comes down to is these people that actually put in the time, they put it into something that I'm sure that they are very proud of. So I want to celebrate them for making the thing in the first place, the actual artists behind making it, as opposed to high-level executive decisions that may or not be stupid. I was wrong. There's nothing after the credits. I'm an idiot. So anyway, that's why I played it. I think it's still, like, there's a lot of really creative ideas. I think the developers have an opportunity to redeem themselves, because they do have something creative. There's a lot of inspiration from Five Nights at Freddy's. There's a lot of inspiration from SCP. I see that. I can see it with the prototype test 1077 or whatever it was. I can see that. There clearly is some underlying threads that you can see from other popular properties, and that's not a bad thing. It's putting a creative spin on it. All of creativity is just kind of like rehashing what has come before, but putting it in a new package, and there's clearly style here. Now, the chase sequence. God damn it, this is my biggest problem with chase sequences in general. You can have a chase sequence, and it can be fun and cinematic, but the problem with a chase sequence is it is inherently self-defeating. Always. I have seen so few well-executed chase sequences because the problem is you have so many cool things happening and the player can never look at them. You spend all this time, I saw out of the corner of my eye, like, the Lady Spaghetti crawling on a wall there, but if you take a second to look at it, you die. You ruin the experience because you reset. You don't have time to think on your feet, which is like the whole point. It's a reactionary thing, but the problem with chase sequences is if it's smart, it combines things that, you know, have been taught throughout the experience, but it's just like, man, just like the first Poppy Playtime, I probably cut out way more times than I actually died in that one. But anyway, it is what it is. I thought that was a really cohesive and very polished experience. I didn't think it was as scary as like the first one. It did have some moments of good like creepiness to it, but I think it was probably lacking in a lot of like the super grounded scare factor. And also, Sean was in it. Mr. Jacksepticeye himself was there, proud and Irish, extremely Irish, and I think that's pretty cool.
Here's what I think. Obviously, I was frustrated with it. That one, that's obvious. It was frustrating. And here's
what I think was occurring is I'm fine with a story that unfolds, like, without revealing everything. I actually like that, and it's like, it's got layers there, and there's a universe that is, and you don't need to know all about it to be in there experiencing it, right? Right. But when you're telling that perspective from the person, the creators of this game, knowing all the answers, you don't necessarily know what someone who doesn't know all of the answers needs to know to still feel connected to it, right? So when you come from a perspective where you know absolutely everything that there is to know about the story and all the intricacies and how things connect together, you don't have the same perspective as someone who does not know all of that stuff. And that's not to say how the gameplay elements sometimes feel disconnected from what you're doing and why the story's unfolding that. Like the mechanics of the gameplay and the puzzles and things like that, how they can feel frustrating in terms of repeatability and also like a complete disconnect from what's supposedly occurring. This kind of like hiding in the shadows things, I get that. But at the same time, it basically, on the text on the screen, it gives you a tutorial of how to play that mode when no prior point of the game had done something like that. So the final encounter had that text because I'm willing to bet they were like, oh, people aren't gonna know what the fuck they're doing, and they gotta figure it out. They even had to do a mini tutorial of like, hey, go to that side room and see what happens. It literally said see for yourself, and it's like, oh, the steam. Oh, okay. But if you hadn't seen all those messages like I hadn't, you wouldn't even know about the flare gun revealing the truth. And so what you get is there is an interesting story here, and I actually can connect with like, oh man, that's fucking, oh man, everyone dying, like the toys rebelling for some reason. Okay, I can get to that. Even the most out there extraordinary universe with the craziest things occurring, you can get into, and I wanted to get into them. I think like that part of it is very interesting. I think it was bogged down because there was that fundamental disconnect between the gameplay elements and the monotonous puzzling and what felt like padding for time, really. Whereas you had this nice setting of like, okay, play care. This is weird, but I like it. It's interesting, and yet it still felt very disconnected. Even though it had the opportunity to really like unify everything with the story, and there was like that through thread going there, but the gameplay elements just felt so clunky, and that they were there for the sake of being there as opposed to anything else. And I can totally see like, okay, these are skill building moments of these puzzles, of using the different hands to get to this final confrontation, but the final confrontation didn't hold any meaning for me. It really didn't. I couldn't tell what Catnap really wanted, like leave play care or I'll kill you. Tons of opportunities to kill you and didn't. And then here in this last moment, it's like, okay, I'm having a final confrontation with Catnap. Why? Why was it? Why did it get there? So anyway, that's what I would say to that. I think it's, if forward teacher said anything, it's to look forward and not back. This could have used some looking back. This absolutely could have used some looking back. That's all I'm gonna say about it. Like I said, you can get into any story being told. I'm not trying to say that the story is wrong. I'm totally down with it. Horrible play toy manufacturer. Fuck yeah, let's do this. Scary big cat. Okay, righty ho. The daytime critters. Sure, why are they being killed versus everything that killed everybody? I don't know. Why is the dog dude being half-eaten there and then the little things crawl inside him and take him over or something? I don't know. I'll never know. I will literally never know. But that's what I'll say about that. It's a frustrating game. It is a frustrating game with some fun moments and interesting things happening, but just so bogged down by frustration. So, that's all I'll say.
And there you have it. Poppy Playtime 4. So, there was a lot of things in this to like. What I think there might have been an issue with was there was so much exposition. So much of that was me going, I don't know exactly how much, but it wasn't even like incorporated into it where it was happening while you're playing and moving. Every single time there was exposition, you had to stop, look at it, and just wait until it was done, because it was source audio, so the audio was coming from the screen, so you had to stay there if you wanted to hear it. And yes, I want to hear the story, but also at the same time, it's like not even trying to get into the gameplay. And the thing about having each tapes tied specifically to a VCR, just very strange, you know what I mean? But that's a gripe that I think I can get over. It's fine, it's just the way it is. I would say something that kind of gets away from the flow of getting into the story, but at the same time, it's still not too terrible in the grand scheme of things. There were a few bugs, of course, but you know, not that bad. The animation was great. Obviously it looked great, voice acting good. You know, I had no real qualms about any of that. I could nitpick things about the characters interacting with each other and like the way they are. I like Dowie, I like all of them, but you know, all in all, I think what is here is good, and yet it's just not quite what I think would make it a cohesive experience, right? And I think that's what I'm kind of, all the little nitpicks that I could say all come down to that, is there is a cool universe here, there is an interesting like through thread with the experimentation, and there's something that you want to know more about there at the heart of it, and there's some interesting characters that they've gotten some really good voice actors behind, but it's just not all landing. It's all kind of landing. It's stumbling a bit. So each time you feel like you're getting into it, you have something there pulling you out of it. Like I'm like, fuck yeah, this doctor, all right, cool. He's there from the beginning, kind of this omnipresent voice. Seems to be pulling the strings, much like, you know, many of the things here before. And then it's like, each set piece of getting to him, you kind of forget what was there before, because so many things are interjecting in between, which are also not quite landing. One of the biggest examples of that is like, hey, go talk to everyone here. I went up to everyone. No one talked to me. No one talked to me at all. There was no one there besides, you know, the critters. And maybe that was something that I was missing, but it was just like, I went around. And so when you get to the doctor and he's talking to you about these moral decisions, but then I realized I haven't made any decisions in this at all. There hasn't been an opportunity to make a decision or even contemplate the actions. There hasn't even been an opportunity for the other characters to really have those moments of crisis. I mean, they do happen. With Dowie's a little example of it, but even those characters, it feels like the things are happening to them at the same pace that it's happening to you, the player. And so it's all not quite landing, you know what I mean? It's just not quite where it needs to be the cohesive story that you want it to be, right? Or not even the cohesive story, because the story is what the story is, and people tell stories and you have to kind of like make leaps of logic to get there anyway. I'm not even talking about that. I'm talking about the feeling of being in the universe and the feeling of being in this world here with these characters. And whether you empathize with the characters or not is like, that's up to writing and stuff like that. But it's almost like the game and the writing are like two sinusoidal waves that sometimes they are in sync with each other and they build the experience, but most of the time I feel like they're working at odds with each other. Neither of them bad by any stretch of the imagination, except for a few segments, but not always working with each other. You know, it's not working against each other intentionally, but it's not making that cohesive in one stream kind of feeling, which, you know, it can deviate every once in a while. Nothing's perfect, but I feel like there's a lot of really good things here, just that they're not connecting and they're not executing that feeling, and so you lose the feeling of it. You lose the feeling and then you have to build it back up, and it really does try to build it back up. There's great music, there's great cinematography, there's great animation. Animation probably the strongest point of all of this. But then you have to catch up again. You have to catch back up again. And you have to catch back up again. You're like, oh, I'm getting into it. I'm getting into it. I'm going to get into it. You know? And it wouldn't be so, that wouldn't be so significant if it wasn't trying to take itself so seriously, which it is. It's trying to take itself very seriously. And I appreciate that. I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but that is putting it in a constraint where the elements have to also take each other seriously, you know, and work with each other. And so you have to look at it from that scope, as opposed to something like Garden of Banban, which is ridiculous from the get-go. It is absolutely absurd. There's a story there in the universe, and there's something to take seriously there, but most of the time, even in the game itself, it makes fun of itself. And that's fine. Well, it is what it is. But this is taking itself very seriously. It is doing its best, and it does this very well, to not step outside of its own universe and rules, which is like good because you got your own sandbox, but at the same time, not as cohesive as it could be. However, I do think it's better than Chapter 3. I think it's way better than Chapter 3. So, as much as it sounds like I'm just shitting on it, I'm saying this because I really wanted to get into it. I wanted to step into these shoes more. I wanted to feel more connected with the world. And it was right there most of the time. Well, it was either right there or right there. And it was like, I'm so nearly there. And there were a few times when I'm like, I'm there, I'm with it, I'm on board. There I go again. Way, oh man, oh, so close. Oh, you know what I mean? It's like, it was so close that I wanted to be more. I couldn't exactly tell you right now exactly what it would need to get there, but I think all of you know exactly what I'm talking about, or maybe vaguely what I'm talking about. Either way, that was great. Thank you, developers, for making that.
Oh yeah, no, that guy did sound familiar. I'm sure he was from before. Yeah, you're right. That guy, that is the same voice. Totally. If only we hadn't killed him. Okay. Animation's good. I'm starting with the positives. I'm starting with the positives here, alright? Okay, bear with me. Animation good. Clearly, art quality very good. The movement isn't quite as good. The mechanics I don't find fun. The switching hands, probably there's an easier way to do it than just like the scroll wheel, which I was doing. I'm sure, but still, it's not even just that. It's that it is slow to do that. It is like to switch is it's slow, right? I see no reason that couldn't be instantaneous. Literally, just like make it fast, because the gameplay requires it to be fast. Why is the actual animation of it not fast? Anyway, whatever. This was a fucking mess. I am saying this because, and I have this policy, right? If it's the first game in a new series, if it's the second, third, I can be more forgiving of things finding its footing. This is chapter fucking 5, right? I should know the motivation very clearly. I should know where I'm going. I should know why I'm going to it. I should know exactly what the character motivations are. That one guy couldn't tell you why he was the escort this time around. As much as I like the hair girl, that was fucking random. As random could be, being like, hey, here's a cool set piece. It's now it's happening. Now is this fun? And it doesn't matter if that set piece is interesting. I liked the aesthetic of that a lot better. It was random. Why was that there? Just to be an obstacle. That's it. It didn't have any cohesion to the story. There was this, like, I missed, of course, some videotapes. But when you're playing a game, you should know why A is connecting to B and then C. And I'm sure that there might be some very thin threading between there if you get the VHS, but my fear is that there's not. My fear is that even if I had gotten all of them, there would be no threading, because I don't see how you could possibly justify going from where we were to where we ended up to leaving that place and it mattering nothing, right? Mattering nothing to it. Here's an interesting character, gone. This character's injured, gone.
This character's interesting to be around you for a bit. Go on. Now, my worst part about this, for me personally, is I don't know if the developers of this game think it's just their thing. We're the chase sequence game. We're the game of chase sequences. We are the chase sequence game. That was in the first one and people loved it. And then the second one, remember when Mommy Longlegs was chasing you? Oh, it was fucking nuts. Remember the third one when we put more chase sequences in? Remember the fourth one, the chase sequences. Maybe we'll tone down a little bit for the fourth. Fifth one, chase, 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 chase. I do not like my gameplay to be trial and error, right? It every time it did it, the stakes were lower, right? And that's really the issue that I have with it. From a mechanical perspective, a chase sequence is fine if it's well designed and it can be fun and it's like in a key moment where it's there and it makes sense. But the problem is this one, especially chapter 5, holy fuck. Half the entire game was chase sequences, and it just because it's doing them again and again, it suddenly has to introduce, oh, here's a new thing in here. A chase sequence is not the time to introduce a new mechanic. I don't even care if it's something as innocuous like, oh, decouple the train cars. It's like, to learn that, the vast majority of people are going to die to that. And in a chase sequence, as I've said before in these games, as soon as you die, it loses all of its value. To do it again, to go through it and be like, oh, I remember how this goes now. Oh, I've learned this now. The whole point of a chase sequence is to be a climactic moment where the stakes are very high and you have to quickly think on your feet of all the mechanics that you've mastered through the entire experience that you've been doing it. And if you fail, it's your fault as the player. If you fail in that moment, it's your fault because you didn't apply the mechanics that you've been learning the entire fucking game. And it had that. I'm not even saying it didn't have that, but it's like, oh my God. Enough! Tired of it. So tired of it. I'm so tired of it. And frankly, I think that there was like emotional core here that was trying to shine through. And it's like, I wanted to be in it. But by the time I got there, I didn't care. I just didn't care. And yeah, I'm hungry. Yeah, I'm grumpy. I'll admit that. I'm not giving this a number rating. I'm just saying thoughts. So put that bias into whatever you're taking in out of this. But I think that even if I wasn't hungry, I'd be saying the same things, but nicer. I would be saying the same things, but nicer. Cause I don't think that I am going to play the 6. I truly just don't want to. So I'm not going to. I think this is it for me. Poppy Playtime, thank you for your time. Thank you for my time. And thank you for all of this because, man, I just do not have it in me to continue slogging through this. And if I'm coming out of a game saying, wow, I slogged through that, it might be time to reevaluate a couple things. All right, so this is the end of Poppy Playtime for me. I don't know how many more fucking chapters they're gonna go through, but hey, more power to you. I hope it's better next time. I won't know, because I'm not gonna play it.